Hello to all you beautiful bastards out there. Regnilla over here bringing you another episode of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. Instead of doing the epic hunting quest like we've been doing for so long, it feels like today we are finally taking on a new monster. For today's episode, we are taking on the Akantor. Oh my god, this guy is brutal. And as a reminder, bring some cool drinks along with you for this journey, because the place you're going to is going to be hotter than balls, and you're going to be very quickly losing health if you are not careful. And so, man, this guy is he is a beast, an absolute unit of a monster. And here we have a beautiful cutscene where he's just going to show off just how intimidating his figure is. Like, look at this guy. Just nothing but spikes, jaws, and thunderous, like, ground-shaking steps. And for some reason, I cannot identify. The wiki classifies this monster as a flying wyvern, and why? I don't understand it. Like, even the games classify this thing as a flying wyvern. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. And this guy is an absolute tank as well. He is going to take you a while to kill. And as a reminder, I'm using G rank armor, and I believe this guy, even though it's like one of the last in the Nicote quests, I believe it's still considered high rank as opposed to the G rank level as the final quest that Nicote has, which that one in of itself is a nightmare of a quest. And so it's highly recommended that you bring, I believe it was either it's either a dragon-based weapon or a thunder-based weapon. The wiki says it's weakest to dragon, but then it becomes weakest to thunder when it is enraged. And this guy can get pretty mad pretty quick. But the other thing to keep in mind is that because this thing is so huge, just the mere act of it turning can cause you to get hit. And it's one of those monsters that has, I like to call it the Tigrex Roar. So if you are in the vicinity of this roar, like super up close and personal with this monster, and he uses that roar, it's not only going to knock you away like a Tigrex Roar, but it will also cause damage to you. And it's a roar that also it requires high-grade earplugs in order to block. So yeah, and look at that chunk of damage. That was just from a roar. Now imagine if you got hit by that wind tunnel that he used at that cutscene. It's absolutely ridiculous. This guy is really an intimidating force. And so going into the notes of this monster, I mentioned one of those already, where with the high grade earplugs. But another thing too is that flash bombs on this monster are barely even effective. They last between 3 to 4 seconds, which is enough to make the monster flinch, and that's about it. There's no real stun time with this guy, but that might help you in a case where you're in a very vulnerable position and you just need a split second of breathing room. And for this guy, a split second of breathing room is probably a godsend. So bring some flash bombs on you just in case. And I believe he also has a vulnerability to sonic bombs when he's using his wind tunnel. When I go through the notes, I'll probably see that in there somewhere. And so the Cantor's thick plating is strong enough to resist even the Gravios' heat blast. There is an ecology for this monster after you defeat it where it absolutely destroys a Gravios. It's both glorious and a little bit frightening. It enables the Cantor to defeat Gravios, okay, in the Akantor ecology. Okay, as I was saying, when weak, the Cantor will limp for a few seconds even though it cannot be captured. Breakable parts include the 2 spikes on its back, its chest, the 2 tusks, and its claws on the foreleg, and its tail can be cut off. And as an additional note for that tail, you can get 2 carves off of it. But it might not be a good idea to carve that tail in the middle of the fight. Otherwise, you're probably gonna get hit. He's that brutal. unless you have a feline with you that's willing to cause a distraction for a few seconds. But even then, be careful. So, okay, that's something that I touched base on earlier. The Cantor is less vulnerable to the dragon element when enraged. I am using my last Galactic Flame, so this one does not have a dragon element. Instead, it has a defense up perk on it, which is very minuscule, but I use this weapon solely because I like the design. There's no other reason for that. Plus, it was also a pain in the ass to get. It requires both Rathalos as well as Cruciale Aura materials, so it took me a while to get. Okay, so throwing a Sonic Bomb into the Cantor's mouth before it uses the Wind Blast will stun the monster to cause it to drop a shiny. The Sonic Bombs will not work while it's in a rage state. And there's the note about the Flash Bombs. It only lasts between 3 to 4 seconds, much shorter than the average monster. However, it's easy to avoid the Akantor's charge and other attacks. So, in a pinch, a Flash Bomb will save your life. And let's see, it's also useful in a large hunting party, as one hunter can flash the Akantor repeatedly and the rest can attack freely. Rotating the person with Flash Bombs can result in a very quick kill time, which that's, I would say, pretty significant because this is a monster that takes a while to get rid of. He has quite a lot of vitality. Okay, so next up, the Akantor's tail reaps up to 2 cards. The Wind Tunnel will still deal a lot of damage even if the player is guarding. So if you're using a lance or a gun lance, or if you're feeling brave, sword and shield, just be warned, your guarding is not going to be safe against a monster like this. And this one is really interesting. Painting the Akantor with a paintball, zooming into the map makes it visible when it is underground. So I'm not sure how helpful that's going to be because it's just you and the monster, and this is basically one big arena. But he has 2 versions of his ground, or when he digs into the ground. It's either he's going to pop up and try to hit you, or he's going to go somewhere else where he will either charge at you or use a wind tunnel attack. Alright, and so, and this goes into the Akantor weapons, which, take this with a grain of salt if you're considering going after the weapons for this guy. All Akantor weapons have high raw damage and high affinity, but they have horrible sharpness, even at most green or some blue, even with the skill sharpness +1. So if you really want an Akantor weapon, bear in mind that it's probably not going to be all that worth it if it's not going to be that sharp. But, don't let that deter you. If you like a weapon, you like a weapon. And me being a longsword user, I had a time in this entire series where I've dedicated a ton of time just trying to get different types of longswords. It doesn't matter if they were good or bad. Alright, and so there's the note about the earplugs. So it requires high-grade earplugs to block, and the roar causes damage. And the Akantor's Tremor requires Tremor Resist +1 in order to block. And unlike the Eukonlos, there's also another monster on this which I cannot pronounce the name of this at all, and I'm not even going to try to. The Akantor's body is not exposed during its dig attack. Cantor is also the only one of those 3 who does not have a jump attack, which the Eukonlos, that one's going to be fun. Okay, now going into the armor set of this guy. Now, I'm not a, I kind of want to call it a competitive hunter, so I use the skills that I think will be kind of useful. I don't play it reckless like some other people do, so a lot of people might, if they're the type to really kind of speedrun monsters, they might like these skills. For me, I don't like them quite as much, but there is one particular skill in this armor set that I'll get to in a moment that could be pretty good. So the armor set I'm looking at is the Dark Akantor armor. Your initial defense is going to be 350, and this might be another one of those wiki shenanigans because I'm getting 2 max defenses for some reason. One number is 440 and the other one is 570. So I'm not sure what's going on right there. But for your resistances, you're going to have a fire resistance of 10, a water resistance of 15, an ice resistance of 15, thunder resistance -5, and dragon resistance -20. So what I'm thinking is that when this monster goes into rage mode, the thunder and dragon weaknesses will flip. So instead of being it like, let's say in this case, the Akantor would be -20 weak to dragon, and then it goes into rage mode. Instead, that dragon resistance goes to -5 as opposed to -20, and vice versa with the thunder resistance. Okay, as for your skills, so sharpness +1 is probably the best skill that I see from just a practical standpoint. And so what that does is it increases your sharpness meter, and that could be really good if you have a weapon that's already sharp and then it gets even sharper. Next up is Reckless Abandon 2, and I believe that is a skill that is active when you have low health. And so this goes into what I was saying earlier. So this is the type of armor set that's really good if you like taking risks. I'm not the type to take a whole lot of risks, so I don't see a whole lot of value to this armor set. And there is a negative skill, and that's called Distracted. So this affects charging time. So in this case, I have a longsword. If I were to use this armor, one, I would probably not die like I did right there, but two, it would take longer for my spirit gauge to charge up, which thankfully that's a skill that you can gem out with the 6 armor slots that you will have available to you. And there are a couple of remarks at the end of this portion of the armor set. So the Dark Akantor armor is widely considered to be the best Blade Master armor set in Monster Hunter Freedom 2. And while it has been downgraded a bit in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, it's still an excellent offensive set. Now, Freedom 2 is basically the vanilla version of Freedom Unite. So Freedom Unite is considered an expansion pack of Freedom 2. So it's basically Freedom 2 with more content, which is pretty cool. And let's see, the Dark Akantor set, when combined with the Hidden Saber, makes for perhaps the most damaging equipment set in high rank. So if you have the Nargacuga longsword, then, or actually the Hidden Saber, this might even include the Great Sword. But I think Hidden Saber might be a longsword weapon. I need to double check on that. But that goes to show that this particular armor set could be really powerful in the right hands. But again, you have to really take risks for an armor set like that. And when I'm talking about risks, I'm talking about I've seen videos of people putting their health down to just a sliver of health and just absolutely destroying monsters, which they're really cool videos to watch, but you gotta ask yourself, how many times did that particular person had to fail in making those videos in order to get a result like that? Again, it's really cool, but it probably took a while to really get something like that down. And so this guy, oh man, this is a really annoying monster, and oddly enough, I think a great place to be at when fighting the Akantor might be closer to the head of all places. Usually the head is the part you want to avoid most, but considering the fact that his tail sweep really covers the entire left side of him, so if you're actually a lot more closer to the face on his right, then you could avoid some other attacks. If you're underneath the monster, you're risking yourself getting hit by a body slam, which even if you don't get hit by that, you might be close enough to be affected by the tremor, so that might not be so good for you either. And I forgot to bring this up too, but the other thing the Cantor does when he goes underground is that he causes those little lava plumes to spurt up out of the ground. So that's, yeah, you want to avoid those because they do a pretty decent portion of damage too. Now, for monsters like this, I always make sure to bring some items that will increase both my attack and defense. So that would be, let's see, it was demon drugs and armor skins, which, competitively speaking, if I don't think they compare quite so much to the pills. So like the armor pill and the I think it was the demon pill, which those ones are a little bit different. But I like to be able to have a, what do you call it, a permanent increase of attack or defense so long as I don't faint during a quest. So the two pills in this game will increase both your attack and defense for a shorter period of time. So I try to avoid those kind of items. But for the demon drug and armor skin, you know, I'm all for those. But as you can see here, there is a sort of a status element, which is defense down, which is a dangerous thing to be had with a monster like this that can already do quite a number on you. And so you don't want to have that particular status. And something else that might be really helpful, and it might be the first thing you want to do when facing the Akantor, is removing that tail. That tail can cover a lot of distance, and that is a big chunk of tail that was just taken off right there. So that might be a good idea to try to go for. As for any particular hard spot on the monster, let's say if there was a spot that was difficult to damage or get to, I don't think there's really anything like that on the Cantor. Everything's basically out in the open and ready for you to take a shot at. So I have no trouble trying to hit the face, and for the most part, I don't think you should have any problems too. But going for that face might be a bit intimidating, because that's a face only a mother could love. Like, holy crap. And that gets me into its relative, the Ukanlos. And oddly enough, it's not a monster I've fought before. Or at least not in Free Unite. I believe I fought him in a few other games, but the Ukanlos is a scary monster as well. But that is, in this game, getting to the Ukanlos requires to do all the key quests in the guild, which I think I have maybe 3 or 4 quests I gotta do, including, I believe it was 2 G rank Diablos quests, which I'm gonna look forward to that. He says with no subtle sarcasm at all. So that particular quest is gonna be brutal, but I should get on that at some point. That way I could take on the Ukanlos and hopefully not have to set up some sort of network with PPSSPP where I can have a bunch of people fight with me, which even then, that monster is probably going to be really hard, since it's going to be G rank and I will be on par with it, and I might need to upgrade a few of my weapons and even get some better armor just to be ready for a beast like that. As for the Cantor, that's all the information I really have on him. He's a monster that I don't fight a whole lot, but thankfully it's all about trying to avoid his hard-hitting attacks. If you can do that, then it shouldn't be too bad. But A, it's going to take you a while, and B, you're probably going to get some bumps and bruises anyway, just from, you know, hits like that, because of Free Unite hitboxes are being a joy and all that good shit. Another thing to keep in mind is, even though this monster is barely ever affected by the flash bombs, as for tripping, he is much more vulnerable too. So if you can make this monster trip and fall over, then he is pretty vulnerable for a decent period of time. It allows you to get some free hits in, and probably it's a good idea to aim for the tail at that point. So it's it's something that you might want to consider. But something else just to note is that the Cantor has some similar, I don't want to call it physiology, but some similar behaviors to the Tigrex, which that monster is, pretty crazy onto himself. But I believe in this case, the Cantor is also considered a pseudo wyvern, in that it is kind of like your traditional wyvern, but not quite. It is like not an actual wyvern. And in the Tigrex case, you had the wings on the forearms. And in this case, this monster doesn't have wings at all, which also gets me into the question as to why this monster would even be considered a flying wyvern to begin with. I don't understand the classifications of monsters in this game other than the elder dragons, and even then, it's kind of a stretch. And so I think this monster is going to be going down here pretty soon. It's for first-time players. Oh man, it's kind of hard to tell how long it would take to defeat this monster. If you were using the optimum equipment and playing it kind of conservatively, since it would be a new monster for you in this case, then it could take anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes, I'd say. In my case, it's going to take around 15 to 20, and this is with overkill armor and weapons. And I'm just hoping not to get carded again. This guy is just brutal. I believe his weak point is the head, which is one of the reasons why I keep going for it. And the head's just an easy target. And okay, yeah, and that's another thing I was worried about too. So another thing to have on you when fighting this monster is materials to make more health items, because you don't want to ever run out of health items when you're facing off against a monster that is this big. And there he goes. Wow, this is just a beast of a monster, and it's just scary on how long this thing can take and how hard he can hit, even at with the items that I have at my disposal. But yeah, that was the Akantor. It's a monster that you don't want to take lightly whatsoever, and it is something that you also don't want to forget your cool drinks for, otherwise you're going to be in a huge world of hurt. But that's going to do it for me and this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in any of my other content, there will be annotations at the end of this video that you can click on to check those out. Or if you want to help support the channel, subscribing is awesome. It is very, very helpful, and I smile every time that number goes up, even by 1 sub. But until next time, take care, people.